Alright, so it is the Monday of match week, which is arguably the most exciting week of medical school for the whole 4 years that you're here. For those of you who don't know, match week is the week where all of the fourth year medical students figure out where they're going to be training for residency. It's the culmination of a very long application and interview process that spans the September through February of your fourth year. Students will submit their applications in September. Over the next few months, they'll get interview invites, go on some of the interviews, and then in usually the end of February, they will submit their rank list. Their rank list is a literal numbered list of all of the programs that they interviewed at, and they will rank them 1 through whatever in the order in which they want to go there. Now, you don't have to rank every single place that you interviewed at. If there was one program that really rubbed you the wrong way and you have a good amount of other interviews, you can just not rank them at all. But generally, it's recommended to rank most every program that you interview at to give you the biggest chance to match and actually have a residency spot. So while applicants are making their rank list, programs are similarly making another rank list of all of the applicants that they interviewed to give preference to the people that they want at their program. After both the applicants and the programs submit their rank lists, it gets put into this huge algorithm, which has been used for decades, and it actually, I think, won the Nobel Prize when it was invented. So it takes the lists of all of the applicants in the country and all of the programs in the country, for the different specialties, and it tries to match applicants at programs based on both of their preferences. It's a pretty convoluted process, and there's some good videos on it put out by the NRMP that do a much better job of explaining how it works than I ever could. So I would recommend checking out those videos. They're usually only 5 minutes long, but it does a good job at explaining on a small scale how the algorithm works. So once the algorithm is run, I think there's a few weeks of quality control, and then there's match week. The way that match week works is on the Monday of match week, applicants will get an email that essentially says, yes, you didn't match, or no, unfortunately, you did not match. Now, they have the official results for the people who did match. They know exactly where they're going. They just don't give that information out until Friday, which is a little bit frustrating. You're in this sort of waiting period, purgatory kind of thing. But it does kind of make sense when you consider the SOAP process for the applicants who don't match, and I will explain that a little bit later. So on Monday, you get this email, yes or no, and then Friday is actual match day, where applicants will find out what program they actually match to. Usually you'll get an email around noon, and some people will just sort of be by themselves and look at that email, but a lot of schools will put on big events where everyone comes together and opens letters at the same time. Honestly, I think that match day is a bigger deal than graduation. Obviously, it is a huge deal to graduate from medical school and actually get that MD or DO and sort of celebrate with all of the people around you. But for the past 4 years, everyone has been working so hard to get into a residency, because that's the only way that we can continue our training and really become a doctor. So that's why I think that match day is kind of a bigger deal than graduation, because you find out where you're going to be spending the next 3 to 7 years of your life. And not only yourself, you get to see where all of your friends are going to go. Are you going to still be in the same city or state, or are they going to be on the other side of the country? It's an exciting time, but it's also really stressful. I mean, sometimes on Friday you'll figure out you matched at your number 1 program, but sometimes you'll match at your 13th or 14th favorite, which obviously you're excited to still be in a program, but it might not be your favorite. And then it's also stressful once you figure out where you matched. You're like, oh, well, I have a few months to pack up my life and move to a different area, figure out contracts for residency, all that kind of stuff. So while it is super exciting, it can also be very stress and anxiety inducing. So while match day, match week is one of the most exciting times in all of medical school, it's not always a happy experience for everyone. Every year there are thousands of students who go unmatched on, Monday morning. They get the "no, you didn't match" email. So what do you do if that happens to be you? So the reason the match week is set up this way is to allow for people who didn't match on Monday to still find a spot somewhere in the country. You would think that it's kind of torture. Why would you get this email on Monday and then have to wait all the way till Friday to figure out where you're matching, and it's because of the Supplemental Offer and Acceptance Program, or SOAP. So the way it works is if you're one of the unlucky students who gets the no email on Monday, you're then placed into SOAP, which you get a list of all of the unfilled positions in the country, and then you start applying. It's a really crazy, hectic week where, between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you're reworking your personal statement, reworking your application, sending them out to a bunch of different programs, interviewing, sometimes going through multiple rounds of interviews, and then getting offers, all in a span of like 3 or 4 days. The reason they have it spread out over the week is so it gives people time to find programs if they want to, and then everyone still matches officially on Friday. Now, if you don't match Monday, it doesn't mean you have to SOAP. Some people who are dead set on dermatology or plastic surgery, there's probably not going to be any open positions for you to SOAP into. So, students like that, if they choose not to SOAP, then they will go unmatched that year. Some people will, take a year off, do research, or do like a preliminary year in either internal medicine or surgery to, get more clinical experience and build their application a little more, and then they can try to apply again next year. But for people who do want to SOAP, usually there's a small selection of specialties which are really even available. Like I said, a lot of the more competitive things will fill all of their positions on the first time around. So specialties that are actually available for SOAP, it's usually like family medicine, some internal medicine, pediatrics, I think maybe a little bit of general surgery. I think EM in the past has had a lot of positions. I think the amount of unmatched positions has fallen in the recent years once, we've gotten a little bit past COVID. I know that was sort of the big reason that maybe in like 2021, there's I think like 500 unmatched EM positions, is because people were a little bit scared and burnt out because of COVID, but I know that is rebounding, thankfully. But yeah, so if you initially applied into dermatology and you didn't match, then you have a very narrow spectrum of specialties that you can SOAP into. And some people don't want to do that. Some people are okay with that. They're just like, what, I'm fine. I just want to be a doctor. I'll be happy enough in this other specialty. So then they're able to SOAP. As I mentioned, the process is very fast and hectic. I think there's even like multiple rounds of matching throughout the week. I'm honestly not sure on the really specific details, but thankfully the program exists to give people another shot, because sometimes the algorithm, it just really doesn't work out in your favor. Even if you're a completely qualified applicant, maybe you just got unlucky. So it still, gives everyone another shot of getting a position if they are okay with that specialty. All right, so it is Saturday, the day after match day, and I wanted to break down how match day went for my school and some of the other people that I know. So on Friday, the official match day, a lot of schools will get together, have some event where all of the students get a letter and open it together at the same time right at 12 p.m. It's a pretty exciting event. They have a countdown, everything. Everyone opens their letter at the same time. People going crazy. Some schools will even have you go up on like a stage and say the program that you match to, if it's your first choice, second choice, whatever. I think that is pretty nerve-wracking. I don't think that I would want to do that unless I got like my top choice, but thankfully my school doesn't do that. This year they live streamed the event, which was pretty cool. I think they did it last year too, but I was in the OR, so I couldn't really see what was going on. I did go back and watch it afterwards. Unfortunately, the way that they do it once people are actually opening up the letters is they just have a bunch of cameras set up around the room. They're just kind of panning, so you can sort of see people's reactions, but you don't get a good sense of like where people matched into what specialty or anything like that. Hopefully they eventually change that and make it a little bit more like interactive for
the audience, because I know a lot of people do watch it because there's like a limited amount of seats for people who can actually go to the event. But regardless, I think the match day went pretty well for everyone at my school. I know that we had some pretty impressive matches. I know one girl is doing plastic surgery at Yale, which is just insane. Sent some people to Stanford, to Brown, NYU, so a lot of great programs all around the country, really, and match people into pretty competitive specialties. At my school, usually about half the class stays in New Jersey, either at programs that are in our health system or at some other programs like Rutgers or some smaller places. And I think this year was pretty similar, so about half of our students stayed in New Jersey. A lot of people stayed sort of around the East Coast, so like New York, Philly, Boston, that kind of stuff. After match day, me and Ryan, we went up to Nutley, which is where our campus actually is, to celebrate match day with one of the orthopedic surgery matches who matched at Hackensack. We've met him a few times. We actually were the only 3 Hackensack students out in San Francisco for the AAOS meeting about a month ago at this point. So that was my first time meeting him. We hung out all night. He's a great guy, so it was nice to be able to celebrate that with him. And it's nice that he's staying home at Hackensack, so we'll be able to stay in touch. Another one of our friends who is a student at Rutgers matched at University of Maryland, which is great. It's a really strong program. They have great trauma there. I'm from Maryland, so it's always good for me to hear. You know, I'm definitely interested in going back to Maryland at some point in my training, so it was nice to see him end up there. And honestly, a lot of the other students we know, whether it's orthopedics or just my friends from undergrad or whatever, all seem to match. So overall, it was a pretty successful match day. It's really crazy to think that in 2 years, that is going to be me. You know, a year from now, I would have taken step 2. I'll be applying for away rotations, you know, starting to get together my application. Things have honestly really flown by. Even though sometimes the days are really long, the years seem to be short. Big events like these make you sort of reflect on your journey so far and, you know, realize how far you've come. Me being about halfway through med school, it's crazy to see how much I've learned and grown. And a final congrats to everyone who matched this year. You worked so hard for 4, 5, 6 years, and it finally paid off. All right, well, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like below and subscribe if you want to see videos like this in the future. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.